live in 3, 2, 1. We are live, and welcome to a special edition of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. Right now, we are coming to you live because we're going to watch a specific auction close. Now, some big developments have just happened while we were getting queued up. Michael Deeb over there from San Francisco live, and then just kind of doing the whole lower third thing. That's me, John Polnik. I'm coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada on the Vegas Strip. What car are we talking about, Michael Deeb?
Oh, this is really cool, JP. This is a Polnik special. We're looking at a no reserve on a 1983 Porsche 944. JP, is 83, am I correct in believing that that's the first year for the 44, the 944?
That is correct.
Yeah, very cool. I think the big thing that made this car so neat is that they basically incorporated the fender flares that Porsche was using on the 924 when they took it racing. And the block on this car is Porsche derived, where the early 924s still used an Audi derived block. So this was Porsche's, first full effort where they kind of built everything for this platform to bring a car that was more contemporary than the sort of, the thinking, I think, by half of the team at Porsche was that the 911 was kind of outdated with an air-cooled motor and an engine sitting out back. And I think Porsche was thinking that this might be an economical bridge to the future. And these cars sold really well in the United States. So here you go. Out of Fair Oaks, California, no reserve, 83 944.
So, you and I spoke about this car on the show earlier this morning, and we had a couple of bids. What was your bid? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. So that's pretty funny. I was thinking that this car, it was at $4,500 when we were looking at it, and I thought it might bring $6,800. You kind of took the over smartly, I would say, at $7,000. This car stickered for $19,000 back in '83, 37 years ago, which is crazy.
That's crazy, yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I bid it at $7,000. Now, here's the thing. This is where you usually do your homework more than I do, and I hardly looked at this car. I mean, I looked at the basics, and I didn't look at the comments, and this is where it really gets important. There were also some videos added to this listing between the time that I chose it and the time that we actually started talking about it. And looking at the videos were very revealing. I'm going to go ahead and say that this car is a pile of crap. And, so there's some recent developments and some weirdness going on. I'm going to say it right now that the owner of this car is either an idiot or is really stupid. One of the two.
Wow.
But at the same time, he might be a genius, because we just saw this car go from $4,800 with no bids all day to $10,001. We're under 2 minutes to go right now. I'm going to go to the screen here so you guys can kind of see this. I think something fishy is going on. You watch the video of this car. It's got obviously I was actually going to consider, bidding on this thing, and I watched the video, and it's got this horrible hum, and it's obviously the motor mounts have broken down. This thing is rattling and shaking and making all kinds of awful noise. The guy doesn't know how to drive. There's nothing worse than when you see the terrible video of, somebody's buddy is in the passenger seat while they're driving, and the guy is driving, and he's got one hand on the steering wheel like noon, and the other hand is resting on the gear shift knob, and he's just rolling through the gears, never putting his hand back on the steering wheel, and they're kind of dinking around through a neighborhood or something. It's just so annoying. The guy doesn't know how to drive, clearly, but the car is just making awful noises. And someone which is common on Bring a Trailer, they offered a pretty well done analysis of why. And of course, the seller never commented on it. They commented about Porsche interior and all this other stupid nonsense. And it was very telling that they didn't say anything. So I actually said, hey, are you going to comment on this analysis? And he's like, oh, well, I'm not a mechanic. This car's 40 years old. It's going to make some sounds, but it's never given me any problems. Yeah, okay, whatever. You're full of crap, dude, whoever you are. And I think this $10,001 bid is basically a friend bailing him out. Because I think he thought this car was going to bring a lot more, and it was clear that it's not, and he just basically is going to eat the fee. What a weird bid. Here it is,
Totally.
it's closing.
Totally. Yeah, it's closing out. We had 10 seconds on this, and I don't think there's going to be another bid on it because I don't think anybody wants it. Fair Oaks, California is actually up by Sacramento. I was incorrect earlier when I thought it was down south, but Fair Oaks is up east of Sacramento. And so this car is going to sell because it's a no reserve auction. But just it's such a weird, it's a very weird listing. John, you and I know, and we try to tell the audience all the time, if the seller or the consignor is not willing to engage with the questions from the audience that are looking at the auction, you got no chance on this platform. People now are savvy enough to see that if you're skirting the issue or denying the claim, or you just go crickets, if you ghost and don't engage, you're not going to get the money. It's just not going to happen for you. So yeah, this is weird. This looks like somebody's moving the car aside.
Yep. I mean, the comments are already showing it. People are going, wait, what's going on here? Yeah. I just posted, this is a very scammy listing. People are saying this is suspect. The user was kind of new with hardly any.
Right.
Yeah, this is, gosh. There you go. There it is. I think a bunch of people just dodged a bullet. Yeah.
Very strange. Very strange.
Yeah, the seller says, "Oh, I guess the strategy paid off. Congrats, and we will be in contact." To the buyer, you're going to be in contact to pay him his fee that he just had removed from his credit card.
JP, what's the over and under with our audience that the buyer is his brother-in-law?
Yeah. I don't think this guy's old enough to have a brother-in-law. I think this is a kid. I think it's his, college roommate or something like that, or community college roommate.
I have to say, I'm super bummed. I was excited about
too.
the prospect of you getting a 944 because I definitely, there's one in my future. I want one really bad. I think it'd be cool to have a 944 along with my Carrera. That'd be a pretty sick, pretty cool set of Porsches to have in the garage and to be able to choose from those two. So we'll see. It's a bummer this wasn't the one. I thought this might fall into your wheelhouse big time.
Well, I was thinking that this morning too, looking at the pictures and talking about the car and seeing where it was sitting. But as I was looking at the listing before I actually hit you up this afternoon and said, hey, let's do a live read, I started looking at all the information and watching the videos and reading all the comments, and it was like, whoa, wait a second, okay.
Let's talk about it in 1 second, JP. So let's put the fishiness aside and let's just talk about the metal. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at an 83 944, an early 944, but prior to 85 and a half, cars got under 80,000 miles. This one's showing allegedly under 60, and even if it was 150,000, if you knew it needed motor mounts, is it still a good buy? Where it was sitting at $4,900, if it went to our bids at 6 or 7, is that a good purchase that you could change the motor mounts, maybe put a few more dollars into it, and still have a drivable car? I mean, these things are reliable enough that would have been a decent purchase, wouldn't it? If
all of the other normal sort of things were also taken care of, then yes. I mean, motor mounts really aren't that big a deal, right?
Right.
The exhaust, if the motor mounts are collapsed, the engine is kind of vibrating, which is going to change the pitch of the exhaust channel,
sure.
The exhaust pipe, and that's going to cause it to, flex and rattle against the body. It's going to cause a cascade of issues. It could also, none of which are a big deal until you start getting into things like differentials. And differentials on these cars are a very, very big deal. This could be a drive shaft issue. That stuff gets terribly expensive really quick because of that rear-mounted transmission. As trick as that is, it's also very tricky to maintain and replacing a clutch is a very expensive job on one of these. I mean, you're looking at a $3,000 or more clutch job on a car, and back then, think about an 83, any car that you had in 1983, you had a Toyota Celica whatever, any normal car, a clutch job was like $400. It was $2,500 back in the early 90s. I remember going, what?
Oh, wow.
I bought the car for $4,000. It's $2,500 for a clutch. It was almost, that's why so many of these cars were just pitched because the cost of maintenance was just way too high. Now, here's the thing is early on in the comments, people were asking the questions that I was talking about earlier in our show this morning. Had the timing belt been replaced? Had the water pump been done yet? And the answer should have been a flag, right?
Right.
The first answer was, I believe the previous owner, this is quote unquote
Yeah.
from Blake the seller, Blake 97 or Blakey
Yeah.
97. I believe the previous owner had recently done both, but he never kept any maintenance records during his stint of ownership, so I have no documentation of either. He had a few, this is where it starts to go, all right, who are you trying to convince?
Yeah.
He had a few other vintage Porsches, all in great condition and well cared for, which gave me confidence that my 944 received the same treatment. Okay, that's a bunch of happy horse shit, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, if all of the other cars got such great treatment, why didn't he have documentation for those cars in the
Right.
maintenance?
Right.
It's like, yeah, that's a nice way of saying, yeah, no, I don't have shit. I bought the car because I didn't know anything about these. This is my first Porsche. I've seen that online everyone's paying all the money for them, so I'm going to buy this dude's Porsche. Okay. So then, people are asking, oh, I hear that there's some, what's that buzzing when it's revving? And he's like, I believe it's just the recording. Let me take some more videos of the car revving and I'll add them here as soon as I get the chance. It's like he posts another video and it's making the same kind of terrible stuff, and he's just like blah, 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 talking about the seats and how they never caused him any problem. The guy only drove the car, like he bought it in Ventura and he drove it up to the bay, and it never caused me any back problems or anything. The seats are super comfortable. I mean, we're talking about the seats being comfortable, dude. And by the way, you're 19, your back never hurts for anything.
Yeah.
Then we had this is a very interesting post by JM4G. He says the rattle doesn't seem to diminish under load or varied RPM. As such, I would wager engine mounts have failed, and really with no record of them being replaced at this age, that would be expected. Irregular exhaust note sounds like air is escaping from somewhere. I'm seeing a patch added to the bottom of the muffler, but it was only spot welded in 6 places, no full bead around it. Looks like fresh oil seep on the oil pan, front sway bar, the AC compressor. Records show the rear main seal was replaced in 1999. Not seeing anything for oil pan gasket from main seal or balance shaft seals with the belt changes in 1998. That's weird. I would factor in an oil pressure level sender and a pan gasket. Overall, PPI would be very useful. And then, so that was on December 18th. What's today's date?
Today's
22nd?
22nd, yeah.
Yeah, and the seller, it's not like the seller disappeared and then came back at the end to answer questions. People are asking about, what color the seats are, and he's active this whole time answering other questions, but crickets on the only comment of substance.
Yeah, the real issue.
So that was a long answer. Your question was, is something like a collapsed motor mounts or maybe an exhaust leak, is that really a big deal? Does that really diminish the value of the car overall? And the answer is no, if those are the only problems.
Right.
And if they are diagnosed by someone other than just a person randomly listening to a poorly shot video on the internet.
Yeah.
This car needs a serious mechanic to look at it, because
I think you said something really important, which is it needs to be diagnosed correctly and also early, because if you ignore these problems, then it's going to tear other parts of the driveline down with it, and you're going to have bigger problems down the road. So it's I guess so if you're looking at a 944, even if it needs some work, as long as the records are there and you can sort of trace its history, and you can buy something safely, invest the money in, enjoy the cars, because otherwise the rest of these things should be pretty bulletproof, right? A lot of these cars are still on the road. Yeah,
I mean they really are. I mean, the water pump, but here's the thing: water pump, timing belt, that's going to be $1,500, $2,000, something like that.
Wow.
If it's a drive shaft replacement, you're looking at another $1,500. If it needs a clutch, you're looking at, like I already said, $2,000, $3,000. This could get expensive really, really fast, and that's not counting all the other weird little things that go wrong with it. And this one, it says the horn doesn't work, and blah 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 blah. It's like, God, I was just so disappointed when I started looking closely. So there it is, kids. Do your homework. Don't listen to the bid nerds. They don't do their homework, and they're telling you, oh yeah, it's worth $7,000. Well, okay. If someone legitimately bought this thing for $10,001, they're going to be in this car real quick.
Yeah,
for
we
much,
buried.
much more than that. And I
Buried.
suspect, and this also, oh God, that's another thing I forgot to mention too.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned looking at the Carfax, they're like, yeah, there was no change in miles for like 5 years. Was the odometer broken during that time or whatever? It's like, God, there's just like flag after flag after flag.
Right, JP, wouldn't this also have those plastic gears behind the odometer that break on all the 911s from the same vintage? So it's entirely possible it broke and somebody was like, perfect, I don't have to change it. Yeah, from 03 to 10, this car got a single mile on it.
Yeah, that's highly suspect.
Oh boy.
Yeah, again, the seller claims that it worked when he got it.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's what's so fishy about it, JP. So in 2003, it's at 290 miles, 54,290 miles past emission inspection. And then in 05, it's the same thing, 08, 09, and 010. All of those years, it passed the emission inspection. And I don't know of a single emission inspection that comes to you. So how did the car get there without putting more than a mile on the car? Because when it did it in 2010, it was 54,291 miles. So I'm sure that's what people were commenting on. And that is kind of crazy. And to date, the car only allegedly has 57,000 miles on it. So yeah, this whole thing smells like low tide.
Well, good luck to all involved except the seller. I think you're full of shit.
Yeah.
There it is.
Bid nerds busted.
But hey, if you did sell this thing and you just scored and you passed one off on someone, and hey, if you can sleep at night, whatever, dude.
Yeah, I don't know,
wow, man. I'm really, really, really disappointed in so many ways. Not just that I didn't, whatever. Who cares? It would have been cool to be able to score a good deal on a 944 or an early 944, but this is definitely not a car I need. It's bad. I think this type of thing is bad for the community. Because I really believe in this auction world, and well, hopefully the other ones. Now, do you want to quickly talk about some of the other cars today that have already gone over the block? Or
I think that's the last. Tomorrow? That's the last one, and ironically, you won it. As upset as it was.
Yeah, I mean, I should not have. I would have anyway, right? Well, no, because that was the only bid. It went from 48 to 10.
No, it actually went up in increments this morning after we talked about it.
Oh,
so
okay.
It showed 46, 47, 48, 49, and jumped from 4,900 to $10,000. So it's hard to tell where that car should have or could have landed. If we are correct in believing that was a illegitimate close, that was a facade. In any case, let's see. So starting with the Bauer car, I thought 39,000. You thought 35. You and I were probably both shocked to find that car found, I think, something akin to its true value, which is in that $55,000 to $65,000 range. The car brought $52,600. Wow. Early this morning. That was the first car to close after our show. The 1993 Porsche C4, another incredible auction. I thought 145. You correctly, I think, bid 144 underneath that. I don't think that was a bad idea. But that car just kept going and in small increments made it all the way up to $152,000 where it sold at that price. And again, somebody's going to pay the auction fees. And then they're going to import that car. I believe that the buyer of that car is probably in the United States. They're going to bring that car stateside. That's another $7,000. So somebody's in that car, JP, easily, $160,000 for a C4 wide body from overseas. Really amazing stuff. The BMW 1M was your nice win of the day. I said 66. You said 70,000, and that car just barely split us at 68,500. You were closer by 500 bits, and I watched the auction. You only won that by a single bid, so I was really bummed to lose that one to you. And then our Jeep Wrangler, I was surprised. We were looking at that car at $24,000 for a couple of days. So I thought it had a few grand left. I went to 27. You slotted in underneath me at 26. That car, JP, brought $32,500. So I would like to remind our audience that at the beginning of this morning's show, we were looking at a bunch of no sales from yesterday, and you correctly lamented that, is this the season? Are we too close to Christmas? Is it just a wild world? Is it the winter? And a lot of these cars are in difficult places to retrieve them. What's going on? Is it softening of the market? And today, everything sold and everything went above our selection. So it was very interesting how, yesterday sort of colored your attitude, and I think you bid underneath me a few times, and it cost you. And I won a few of the listings today. So pretty funny stuff, when you look.
Well, maybe going first was an advantage today, and my bias for going under.
Nobody's buying that
stick.
Yeah. Nobody's buying that take. No way.
Yep. I'm taking it. I'm going to go ahead and take it.
I'm going to say I lucked out. And I actually, as the auctions were coming in and I won like 2 or 3 in a row, I was sitting here at my desk looking at my computer going, wow, JP really took my little bitch fest this morning to heart, and he let me win a few. That's what I was thinking.
You had a good day, man. Congrats.
Yeah.
All right. This Jeep Wrangler.
Crazy, right?
No, it's just not. I mean, this price does not surprise me at all. It just surprises me that it found it here on Bring a Trailer. That's the only thing that surprised me. This Jeep being worth that much, if it brought 32 on Bring a Trailer, here's the thing. This is really crazy. I'm going to say this. I believe money is left on the table. I believe if this Jeep were put on one of the Jeep forums or one of the national Jeep for sale sites, that this thing could have
how much
broken
money?
40.
40 grand. Okay, so let's say 40 grand is the value of a 1,600 mile 2006 Jeep, and it's that special version where you said it was, I think, the LJ or the FJ, and it's longer, the longer wheelbase. Okay, cool car. JP, you got a lot of money in the bank. You decided you wanted it, and you're going to put it away in the garage, the massive garage in your new house, and you're not even going to drive it. Okay, so now you got 40 grand wrapped up in a Jeep. Where is the Jeep going? What's the future for that car? In my mind, the 68,000 that was spent on the 1M is a much better investment, because I think 5 years down the road, that could be $100,000, maybe even $150,000 car on 14,000 miles. What's the future for a Jeep? You and I said there's a lot of guys that want them, that want to drive them, but how do people recognize the Jeep as an investment, or as largely as an investment? Where's the future for that? Do you think that's good money put away in a Jeep?
Well, I mean, compared to a 1M, we're not talking apples to apples, but I'm hearing your question as a pure automotive investment. If you don't have a dog in the hunt, right? If you don't really care if it's a BMW or a Jeep, you're just saying, all right, 4 wheels and a steering wheel. What's the best way I could put my money in and get my money out and not touch the car? How many miles did the 1M have?
14,000, which is
14,000. It's very low for that car, but it's not even remotely close to delivery miles, right? So it's certainly not a museum piece. That's a car that's been driven very little, but it is a car that has been driven. I mean, 1,600 miles is above delivery miles, but barely. I mean, this is a potential museum piece in the future. And on top of that, as many as they've made 1 million Wrangler Unlimiteds in the JK body style. That's the next body style that comes a year after this car. And they made millions more TJs, which is the short wheelbase of these vehicles. Right. They made very, very, very few LJs. And so it is truly a rare car. Now, if this thing were a Rubicon, it could be worth even more than that. But this is just, I think this is a Wrangler X or something like that. But look at the, if you want to say, is that even possible for the Jeep Mark? Well, look at the Grand Wagoneer. A 1987 Grand Wagoneer with 1,600 miles would probably be a 6-figure car.
Oh my
God!
Am
I wrong about that?
Yeah, no. You and I have looked at. I think we've looked at 2 different ones that have brought over 30,000. That are like 170,000 mile cars. One of them, I thought the frame was rusting off of it. And you said, Michael, that's not bad. And I was like, what? It's just crazy. So. Yeah,
and I mean, restored ones are in the $70,000 range all day long. Yeah. Like there's multiple companies that are restoring Grand Wagoneers and making them into super beautiful resto mods and stuff like that, and they're easily bringing in the high 70s. I think maybe they're probably close to 100 now. So a legit one, a real one, a real 89 or 93 Grand Wagoneer before they, the last year that they did. Holy cow, that would be worth so much money. So I think there's blue sky for this Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, and at $32,000, whoever's bought it isn't really in it that much. They could drive this for normally for 5 years and put 50,000 miles on it, and it would still be an exceptionally low mile LJ.
Yeah, I'd still get 25 grand for it.
Yeah, or more, or whatever they're into it. I mean, it's they just the new ones aren't as good. The new ones are plasticky, and like every other new car, the quality has completely gone down the drain, and so it's really nice to see something like this. I don't know. Yeah, there it is.
Crazy. Yeah, it's weird also to reconsider that this seller may have lost somewhere between $75,000 and $10,000 left on the table by not bringing it to Cars and Bids or someplace Jeep specific.
Well, Cars and Bids definitely not the place for it. Cars and Bids.
Oh no.
Yeah, Cars and Bids. I don't think this thing I think this thing barely breaks 20 on Cars and Bids. I think this is a non-auction vehicle, or at least not.
Oh, I see.
I mean, Barrett Jackson would have brought way more money for this thing. I mean, there's any of the traditional. All the traditional auctions would have done way better. I think.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more drinking involved too.
One, there's more drinking, and two, there's a lot more old American guys that like American stuff.
Right, that makes
sense. The guy that has one of these and is a collector also has a bunch of Mustangs and Corvettes and whatever.
They are domestic friendly for sure. That's for sure. Yeah. All right, cool, man.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, hey guys, there it is. Thanks for. I'm sorry. Did you want to hop in on something else?
One more thing. So JP, as you're closing the show, I wanted to point out that our pick of the week is a 1973 Jaguar XKE Roadster with a V12, and that auction closes tomorrow. It will not be one of the 5 cars we do on the morning show, so presumably we have time to do another little satellite show like this and look at our pick of the week.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll have to do that tomorrow then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why I picked that car is because Magnus Walker has just purchased 2 of them, and he's planning to make an outlaw out of a Jaguar XKE Roadster. So I thought that'd be cool for us to look at one, because I don't really know the car that well. So see what Magnus sees in the Jaguar XKE V12.
Well, he is from that neck of the woods. Patootie, the producer, agrees with that pick, right?
Yeah, all right.
All right, there she is. Okay, guys, your daily nerd out of the most interesting cars on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. This has been a special edition, a live auction view on a 1983 Porsche 944 that we believe was a big pile of crap and was a scam of some sort.
Fishy.
Yeah, very, very fishy, unofficially. Okay, there it is. Join us tomorrow morning in the 9 o'clock hour live on Facebook, or catch us just a little later on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow. Bid nerds.
Later.